order, and we'll check with the others to make sure they can hear us and respond if appropriate. So I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Beaufort County Airports Board on Thursday, April 20th. If you'll all rise, those here, and join me with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Public notification of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act.
Good to see you.
Oh, there we go. Chris? All right, just to make sure we're all okay, Brian, can you hear and see us? Could you turn on your microphone a minute, let us know that you can speak? No speak. 1 second. We're working on it. And Nick, same story. If you let us know that you can hear us, and if you can turn on your microphone for a minute, let us know that we can hear you.
Yep, I'm hearing you. You guys hear me?
All right, it's on low, but I think we heard you. Mark, are you hanging out there someplace?
I can't hear him at all.
Can't see or hear Mark.
No. Who's Mark? I don't know. Who is Mark?
Mark Bailey.
Mark Bailey.
Oh, Mark Bailey, okay. Now I know. If I see him, I know.
He's on the bridge.
He's on the bridge.
He's on the bridge.
He's flagging traffic.
Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry.
He's in Bluffton.
All right, so I think that accounts for everybody that we know. Jim is out this week, and we have 2 vacancies on the board. And we're doing good. Okay. By now, you've all received copies of the agenda. Hope you had a chance to review them. Any suggestions, changes, or amendments to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda as published. Leslie, you accept the motion, and will second it.
Oh, my God.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye, or raise your hands, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Same story with the minutes. You all received copies of the minutes of the March 16th meeting. Any changes, corrections? Hearing none, we'll accept a motion to approve the minutes.
Absolutely.
Oh, Leslie is motion maker. Thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Tom is second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye or raise hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. We now come to the public portion of our meeting, and still, it is also open to the folks online. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Any of our public would like to make comment? I see David got finger up. Index finger, David, thank you. Cannot hear you, just 1 second, Dave.
There we go.
Mr. Ames, can you
All right,
hear
try
us
it
now?
again, please.
Yes, I can hear.
We can hear you now.
Okay. I'm pleased to report that the town council of Hilton Head voted to extend Brian Terasi's term on the airport board last night.
Okay,
He's
That's it?
smiling.
I see Brian smiling.
I don't
Good
see him
news.
smiling.
I don't either. He's not
I
smiling.
guess that's why I'm here.
Okay,
Now you are.
all right, now we can hear you. Okay, any of the public comments? Anybody, certainly nobody here or online? Hearing none, we'll just move right into our director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Welcome to April. Hopefully on the way in, y'all got a nice preview of the Blue Angel show. They're out there practicing today, so hopefully the weather stays like this. So we'll have them the same way all weekend long.
Cool.
Did you see them?
No, but I thought maybe it was Beaufort Executive getting busy at first.
If they land a Beaufort
Yours be
executive,
slightly out of the pattern.
Right,
then I think we'll have a permanent display out there.
great.
All right, so we'll get into the director's report, and I'll see if this is going to move it this time. It doesn't always seem to work for me. Know where to point this thing. Point at Rosia. We're going to let Alec run the board meeting.
There we go.
Oh, there we go. All right, so just a couple of quick updates. Personnel-wise, we welcome Brian Cronin to the team this week. Brian's going to be our airport finance manager, so he'll be in charge of all things finance at the airport. This is a new position for the airport. It's a shared position between the two airports, but he'll be located at the Hilton Head Island Airport. Brian comes to us from county finance, of all places. And that's really a good thing because he'll really kind of form a bridge or a liaison between the airports and county finance. And that relationship has gotten to be very solid, so we're happy about that, and Brian's going to do great stuff for us. Prior to coming to the county, Brian had been with Hilton Head Island Public Service District for I think 15 or 16 years, and he did all kinds of financial analyses there, trend analysis, project management, and that sort of thing. So Brian's going to, once he gets all snapped in and understands what's going on with the airport finances, we'll be able to use him at kind of a high level to help us, generate the financial pieces to some of the strategic decisions that we need to make at the airport. So you'll be seeing him in the future, most likely at board meetings. At the very least, you'll see his products that I'll bring forward to you as financial reports. So I know we've talked about that for a while, about having periodic financials. And now we've got the tools in place to make that happen. So I think that'll be a great addition. We're glad to have him. He fits in perfectly with the team. So you probably won't see too much of him, but we'll drag him to a board meeting, maybe the next one in Hilton Head Island, so you guys can meet him. We're happy to have him. And then the second one, we'll do a staff spotlight like we've done the last couple of meetings. And this is, there we go, there's Paul Jernigan. That's not what he looks like when he's working the line out of ARW.
Say, that's a good looking
Chris is
picture for a last
laughing, he
meeting.
knows. This is his realtor picture, so if you're buying a house, this is what you see. But when he's working for us, he's usually, running fast in and off the line and taking care of the customers as they come in. But he's our longest serving line tech out there at Beaufort Executive, and he was instrumental when we were kind of gapped in between supervisors out there. He was kind of our link that kept us together and helped us kind of bridge the gap between supervisors. But you can see the jobs that he does. The linemen out there are typically kind of a one-person show, so they do everything from fueling the aircraft, greeting the folks coming in, to providing customer service, like helping them with rental car pickups, drop-offs, and everything from hotel advice, restaurant advice, to every now and again a fishing spot. So we try to do it all there. You won't get the best fishing spots. You get third tier. We keep the best ones for ourselves. But so they do that. But then also on a daily basis, they're checking all of the aircraft that are out on the line to make sure everything's secure, kind of do an inventory of who's visiting us. Some folks come in overnight. But they're also responsible for safety inspections. So the lights that we have out there, they make sure those are operational. They take care of work orders if we need something fixed. They'll do some minor maintenance on their own, and airfield maintenance like mowing and things like that our guys take care of too. So Paul leads the way on that. And then when he's not working for us, then he's a local realtor. He's been doing that for quite some time as well. And he's a public servant. You can see he's the chairman of the Board of Assessment Appeals. So that means if you get your tax assessments and you don't like the way they look, you're going to come see Paul. So he's a very fair guy. I've not had to go in front of him, but I know Paul's a great guy. So we're happy to have him on board on the team. If you've flown in and out of ARW, you've definitely run into Paul at some point. But he's always a smiling face out there, and he'll take care of you. So glad to have him on the team. All right, let's move on to the next one. Okay, a little more detail on Beaufort Executive. We've been talking about this for a while, but this coming Thursday, we've got the ribbon cutting and the Chamber After Hours, and the Aviation Association Aviation Week event out at the airport. So we'll be out on the new front porch on the air side of the building, and that'll start at 5 o'clock. We're going to have several people speaking. We do have some folks coming down from Columbia, so we've got a couple of state legislators who hopefully can make it. I know they're in session on Thursday, so it kind of depends on how the schedule goes on whether or not they'll be able to make it in time. But that would be Shannon Erickson and Bill Hager so far has said that the two of them will attend, so hopefully they can make it. We'll also have the Executive Director of Aeronautics, Gary Siegfried will be there. He'll probably say a few words because the airport's benefited from the grant funds from the commission. And who else? Ian will be there from the chamber, so you get to see Ian. And then, of course, all of us will be out there in kind of the normal chamber crowd because this is the monthly Chamber After Hours. So it should be an exciting event and just a great chance to showcase the new, kind of the renovated terminal. And we're going to cut a ribbon, too, because we're kind of calling this our grand reopening of Beaufort Executive. That's Thursday evening, 5 o'clock. I left the sponsorship opportunities available there too because they are still, and if somebody wants to help, you can always help. Next one on there, the hangar inspections. If you've got a hangar up there, you've received an email and a note, and that has told you whether or not there's any discrepancies that have been found with your hangar, and whether or not you need any documents such as insurance or things like that updated, or maybe an updated agreement. Eric Townsend, who's the Marine that we've got working with us, went through all the hangars a couple of weeks ago and generated reports and emails to all of the tenants. So everybody knows where they stand and what they owe the airport. So if anybody's watching this out there in viewer land, if you got a note from Eric, make sure you get back in touch with him because he's going to be reaching out again with a follow-up.
Just
So-
a question on that, John. If there were no issues, you didn't get an email, correct? Or did everybody, because I didn't receive an email.
I don't know.
I'm asking.
I don't know. Do you remember, Steve? If,
Everybody got one. He looked at everybody and at least let everybody know there's no issues, just to let you know we went in your hangar.
yeah, because I think we at least sent out a note that we had been in your hangar.
Okay,
I saw one go out.
okay, can you just give me the date and time? Not now, after the meeting, that way I can go back and look and make sure I don't have it go into junk for some reason. I would never do that at
Of
the
course not.
airport. I would want to correct that.
Every time I email you, it never goes through, just so you know.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
So we do periodically go through and make sure that, things are the way they ought to be. And we'll kind of keep an eye on, too, because we do have a significant waiting list. So if we see that a hangar appears to be unoccupied, we'll kind of track that down, ask some questions, and find out if the tenant still owns an aircraft and that kind of thing. Then the last one, just a hangar development update. We spoke with a group last week who's interested potentially in doing a ground lease and building the hangar out there. So we'll see. We've talked to a lot of groups out there, and they've got a lot of decisions that they have to make independent of the airport before they bring back a proposal package. But we'll see. Hopefully that'll get off the ground. And then with regard to hangars, we're still moving on the T hangars. The development down at the north end, adjacent to the existing T hangar. So that's in design now, and I'll tell you now, and I'll probably remind you, but the design and permitting is really a long part of this process because the permits will take probably every bit of a year to get. So you'll be hearing from us for a long time that we're in design and permitting, and that's not to give you an excuse that we're not actually doing anything, but it takes a long time to get permits here. So that's where that project is, but the intent is still to move forward we are moving forward with that project. So, any questions about Beaufort Executive?
I just have one, John. I was talking to Matt the other night. I actually showed up for the Chamber of Commerce early, real early, like on Tuesday. So, but Matt was telling me he was being held. I guess that people were paying extra for him to stay late. And it kind of brought up the question, I know we have a flat fee for that per hour. How often does that happen? I mean, is that on a fairly regular basis, or does it only happen maybe once a month?
No,
it's
a few times a month. It's fairly regular.
Especially with the charters, it's very regular, 3-4 times a week, where they'll be called for an after hours, and they have to stay late to cover that.
Okay,
2 days ago, we got called for an after hours, and they never showed up, but we still bill.
yeah,
If you're gonna call, we're staying late, you're getting billed.
yeah, okay. So more often than I thought. Okay, good.
And which Matt, because we have three of them out there.
Oh, yeah, well, I can say it because I am short, the short Matt.
Okay. And we're trying to differentiate because everybody out there, they used to be all the Pauls, now it's all the Matts.
Matts.
So we're gonna come up with nicknames or call signs or something to keep them straight. Anything else at Beaufort Executive? All right, we will move on to Hilton Head Island Airport. That photo came from last week. That's what it looked like for at least one of the days. I think that was Monday or Tuesday of Heritage Week. It got pretty busy out there, and really a shout out. I'm going to give a kudos to our own team because we had the permission from the FAA to close part of Taxiway Alpha from Thursday, from the actual tournament time. So Thursday with the start of the tournament until Monday when most of the folks would leave. But on Monday of tournament week, Signature called us and said, we need you guys to see if you can close that taxiway early because we're just getting inundated with airplanes coming in. They had no place to park them. They run out of room. I think on Monday they had 52 arrivals on Monday. Now, some of them left, but we can't even take pass-through traffic with that much aircraft on the ramp. So we did get that closed for them, and kudos to our crew that went out there and put all the barricades out. We have to, cover up all the signage and lights and things like that, and made it happen. And the ramp looked like that for the better part of the week. There were some who came and went, a lot of NetJets throughout, Wheels Up, Plane Sense, just all week long. So lots of jet traffic in through the GA side. So big shout out to the team, and then we kept that in place until Monday morning, and then it pretty much cleared up by about 11 o'clock Monday morning. It was a busy week, but that's what it looked like. Update on the terminal bids. Yesterday was actually supposed to be the original bid opening day, but as the project was getting reevaluated by the design team, we do internal cost estimating, and there were some areas of that package that needed to have a little value engineering to kind of make sure that scope was going to fit. And so that's what's going on now. So we've extended the bid period to the beginning of June. So we'll give the bidders some more time. There'll be some more communications, probably some additional addenda that get issued by the design team in order to clarify a few things within that package. And of course, whenever you put a project that's complex out for bid, you do get a lot of questions in from the bidders, and there were a lot coming in. So it's going to be beneficial to the bids to extend this period a little bit, make sure that the design team can answer all those questions, make all the clarifications they need, and give those bidders a little bit more time to get all of their subs together. It's a very complicated project. So that'll be the beginning of June that we open that up. I think, is it the 7th, Judy? Okay, that was stuck in my head. I want to make sure that was correct. So June 7th is the new bid opening date for that. Just a quick recap of the TSA pre-check event that we did a couple of weeks ago. That was it was a wild success. It was a little bit chaotic because starting Monday of that week, the parking lot over at 2600 Road was full. And so all of the appointment spots were filled, and then there were walk-ins all week long too. So the person who was there doing the work for the private company who runs this really got to work out that week. I don't know how many they finally processed because I think they all went into hiding after the event. It was a lot, and they were constantly moving people through there. So I think the appointments took 15, 20 minutes apiece. And they cycled people through pretty much all day from, I think, 9 to 5, and there's a quick lunch break so they could catch their breath. Tom, I know you worked a good bit over there. And we had a couple other board members who volunteered to kind of help just receive people, and I mean, we had no idea we'd have that many people coming in. So the company that ran this, called Idemia, has asked us to do a couple more events. So we'll take a look and see. We are now in that building, using that building as a security facility. So we're a little bit challenged on space now. So we'll see if we can make that work. But there was a huge demand for that event, and I had no idea that there are people who basically follow that company trying to find the closest one to them and schedule an appointment. So it's in high demand, and we'll see what we can do to accommodate some additional events.
John, I don't know if you're aware or not, but this one gentleman that runs that by himself, he goes around to NFL games and sets up a trailer there and processes people there. He's very competent at being what he's doing.
Yeah, that's amazing, the
He's
one-man
done
show.
it all the time, and he knows knows exactly how to handle it. So, yeah, it's interesting.
That's a gift. I mean, that's hats off. When they told me there was only one person coming, I couldn't believe it,
Yeah.
but
The only concern for us at the airport is if we get too many people signed up for TSA pre-check, our pre-check line's gonna be out the door.
Yeah.
yeah, and it, you know, the thing about our airport is we still have one screening line.
Right.
So you're all gonna funnel into the same place.
Right.
But if you're going through another airport, 'cause especially when you fly back
Right.
home to us, then you have the opportunity to take full advantage of the pre-check. And we'll be there with the new terminal, so we'll have a separate line for pre-check. But yeah, certainly a big benefit and a huge, huge need for it, I guess. All right. Then I kind of recapped the heritage already, but was there anything I missed on that, Steve? We don't have final numbers back yet.
We don't have final numbers, but we did get a lot of lessons learned, things we can do better for next year, and moving into the new Quesadores, which is coming up in a month, so.
Yes, we have another event in the middle of May when we expect a huge influx of private jets, big corporate jets as well. So we'll count this as our dress rehearsal for that, and we'll be ready for them. And our crew's getting pretty good at blocking off that taxiway. So we'll just do what we need to do to accommodate folks coming into the island. And eventually we'll build more ramp space, hopefully. There certainly is a demand. All right, I think that does it for
What
that.
about using that, could we use ARW for pre-check? We've got room, we've got space.
For pre-check?
Yeah, to do the pre-check.
Well, that's a possibility.
Because we've got parking and we've got extra, we've got the conference room. I know I sent several people over and some people couldn't get an appointment, I know, and, but that may be a solution.
That's a good, I hadn't thought of that, Chris. That's a good
I
idea.
think the only downside to that, Chris, is that the bulk of the people come from Bluffton, Hilton Head. We had some come down from Beaufort. When I go through Jim's committee report, he had some notes on that. And the fact is that you can also go down to Savannah. There's a private company in Savannah does
All the time?
TSA. So
They're there
if
24.
If we're up at
Oh,
you,
okay, I didn't
or maybe
realize
an
that.
alternate process,
Yeah.
maybe every now and then up at ARW,
Yeah.
back at Hilton Head, that might work out for some of the folks that are on the northern end of our territory.
All right, well, that ends my report, and turn it back over to the chairman.
All right, thank you. We have, as best I recall, we have no unfinished business. Don't sit down, John. Anybody with unfinished business they'd like to address? Anybody online? Hearing none. John, we'll come back to the action items. We're going to change the order of the action items slightly. We have election of chairman and vice chairman today. We're going to put that at the end of the action items and let John run through the airport action items first.
All right, fair enough. So we'll jump to number 11 on your agenda, and that's a recommendation of contract award. And this is for Trinity Electrical, and this is for the tower project that we've got, and this is to upgrade technical equipment in the tower. So this is the one, if you remember, we received notification of a grant back last August, and then we developed the project and bid it out, and Trinity came back as the winner on that one. So we're ready to go ahead and prepare a contract and award it to Trinity. You can see the contract amount there, which is less than the FAA grant, which is perfect. So, and it's a 100% FAA funded on this one. So with this one too, the process is it will go from the airports board to a committee of council and then to full council because of the amount of the contract.
All right, we'll accept a motion to approve the award for the terminal technology improvements, which will go to Trinity Electrical in the amount of $268,695. Motion, Ann,
I'll be second.
second
I'll
from
be
Chris.
second, yeah.
Any additional discussion, questions from members? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye, or for those online, raising hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes.
All right, thank you very much. So that will move on to committee for the May meeting of Public Facilities and Safety Committee. Item 12 is the Talbot Brighton Ellington work authorization. And what that is you may remember I described the airport design group changing from a C2 airport to a C3 airport, and that has some implications on just the layout of the airport and some of the dimensions. that are FAA prescribed. So what this is an ALP update, airport layout plan update, to just evaluate alternatives relative to that change from C2 to C3. So we'll go through the entire airport and all the different prescriptions that the FAA has for a C3, moving up from C2 to C3, and then see how that affects the airport, and different decision points will come out of that. So this is the effort to line that up. It is one that is required by the FAA.
Does Talbot actually make the proposal for that, or does that proposal come from you after consulting with Talbot?
To the FAA?
Yeah.
It'll come from the airport.
From the airport directly?
Right.
Great. Any questions for John on that item? All right, so we'll accept a motion to approve the Talbot and Wright work for authorizations numbers 2119 through 2301. Leslie is making the motion.
I'll second.
Tom will second. Any further discussion, questions from board members? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Or hands, please.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes.
All right, and that one will go just to committee, because the Dollar Valley doesn't need to go to full council, so that'll go to committee. And that'll be on the May committee agenda as well. All right, and then the last item on there, I'm gonna hand it back to the chairman, because this is the recommendation to approve the proposed budget. I sent you all out a kind of a condensed version of that the other day to take a look at. That's what we sat down and reviewed with the finance committee this week. And, Mr. Chairman, I'll pass it back to you.
The Finance Committee met with John and Stephen and Byron. Committee consists of myself, Chris, Brian, and Tom. And so, Tom, maybe we'll do the brief committee report here, and then we can vote.
Thank you. As Howard said, we met with John, Steve, and Brian, the new finance manager, and John went over the numbers. If anyone, I assume everyone has looked at it, the highlights are that the Hilton Head Island Airport budget reduction is basically from the impact of the summer of '21, all the increased revenue they received from the commercial operation has decreased over the years, and so that has been put into the proposed '24 budget. And the highlight from Beaufort Executive, as I recall, is a lot of time was spent on the proposed hangars to be put into the executive airport, and all the work that's being done to prepare for that, get the proposals out, the type of hangars and so forth, and the hopefully the revenue that'll be coming from the new hangars there. That pretty much summarizes it, and the Finance Committee proposes approval of this proposed budget for '24.
I have one correction error I just made. Part of the Finance Committee and attending the meeting was Ann. Sorry, I forgot about that.
That's
Left-
okay,
left you
I'm
off.
very forgettable, it's all right.
My apologies to that. All right, so if anybody has any questions on the budget, productive meeting, very encouraging for both airports, a lot of stuff going on. So if there are no questions for John on the budget, I'll accept a motion to approve the fiscal year 2024 proposed budget as outlined by John's documentation to the board.
I'll make the motion.
Chris, motion maker. Brian, second a motion. Oh, is that a question or a second, Brian? Can't quite hear you.
Second.
Second, thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye or raise hands.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we now move on to the other action item there. We have election of officers every April. As you know, officers are elected for a single term with a maximum of 2 terms as their limit. Any board member can nominate any other board member for the position, so nominations are now open for the position of chairman.
I'd like to nominate Leslie. as
Leslie being
chair.
nominated, is there a second? No second, I'm sorry. The
okay.
nomination fails. Any further nominations? We've got to pick somebody, gentlemen and ladies.
I'll nominate Howard again.
It's a second from Brian, correct? Yes? Any questions of me for continuing in the job? If not, if you'd like to take a closed vote or just a general public vote, what do the board members
Let's vote
like?
now.
Yeah, I'm fine with an open vote, but I
Yeah.
don't know how
Open
everybody
vote?
else feels. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Open vote.
Okay. All in favor of me continuing as chairman for 1 year, one more year, please signify by saying aye or raising hands.
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
Two opposed? Have enough for the motion to carry. So thank you very much. We will continue. Committee reports. You've heard the Budget Committee report going forward.
Excuse me, are you going to elect a vice chairman?
Vice chair, we gotta do
My
vice chair.
apologies.
That's okay. I see where this is going.
Nominations open. As you know, Leslie now serves as the vice chairman, so nominations are open for vice chairman. Thank you.
I'd like to nominate Leslie.
Second for Leslie.
I'll second
Chris, a
that.
second for Leslie. Leslie willing.
Yes, I am.
Any other nominations for vice chairman? Hearing none, all in favor of Leslie remaining as vice chairman for 1 more year, please signify by saying aye or raise
Aye.
hands.
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're in the pit again.
I'm right next to you, yes.
Here's co-pilot.
All right, we've heard the Budget Committee. Jim could not be here today. He had a prior commitment, but he was a volunteer at the TSA event and did send along a committee report, which I'd like to present to the board at this time. He volunteered for a full day. It was on Friday, March 31st. He spent the day there, very impressed with the organization at TSA and the amount of people that they were able to move through the system, and was very impressed with the number of people showed up. By his count, which is not an official count, he was just checking marks on a piece of paper, there were 30 morning appointments scheduled, 28 in the afternoon. There were 5 no-shows in the morning, 5 no-shows in the afternoon. But there were 31 walk-ins that were accommodated in the morning and 30 walk-ins in the afternoon. So roughly 109 people through that place in the single day, which is an enormous number of people when you consider the amount of information TSA needs and their process for checking people through. So he was really encouraged to see the participation by the public at this thing. And as John already mentioned, I think Leslie brought up as well, he is encouraging the airport's director to find a way to make this an annual event as long as the numbers are maintained over the years, since it represents a significant benefit to the traveling public in and around the airport. And to Chris's point, maybe every now and then it should move up to the Beaufort area, so folks in the northern part of our area, our market, will have a chance to use the TSA process without having to travel down to Hilton Head.
Did anybody do it on the board? You did go through
I
it?
did 2 days there, and I would
No, I mean,
like
did
to.
you go through the process and?
No,
do it?
I've
You already
been doing
have.
it since the
I think
beginning.
Jim did, Buckley.
Oh,
'cause he
Jim
told
did?
me he-
Okay.
Yeah, he told me they lost him. Apparently, if your TSA pre-check number, your known travel number expires,
Yeah,
and you don't
well,
renew it within 6 months of expiration, you have to go through the
oh,
process
golly.
all
Right.
over again. And that's
We
what
had
happened
several-
with Jim.
We had
Yeah,
several people like that.
yeah.
My comment is, the biggest comment from the walk-ins was, I couldn't get an appointment. And I couldn't really answer that question. The other thing is, I think the 2 days I were there talking to the lone gentleman that did it, he run 2 people at once, it was impressive, he did about the same number of walk-ins as appointments every day. And I think it was around 80 he did in a day in total.
Mhm.
So, it was an impressive operation. Like I said, the biggest take I had, most people, I can't get an appointment, and there was only very few people came with the wrong documents. And as you mentioned, the known crew, traveler's number was, you're wrong, or
It
Expired.
lasts for 5 years, correct, the pre-check?
Yes.
It's the same as the
It's
global
no
You have
entry.
to
It's
different.
same-
renew
that's
it
what I have.
within
Yeah, I do
6
too.
months, and it's the same with global entry.
Yeah,
Because if you travel within that 6-month frame.
Yeah, I'm being very careful to make sure I stay on top of what.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
generally
me
you
too.
shouldn't have to ever go back once you're signed up.
Yeah.
You just do renew it
You need
online.
Yeah, but you have to
Yeah.
renew it within 6 months.
Right.
Yeah,
Online. If you don't make that mark.
And you
then
can
do have
renew-
to go back.
Then
And
go
you
back.
can renew in 6 months prior to your expiration date, so.
Yeah.
that's what I did,
good information.
yeah.
All right, so
That's fine.
thank you for volunteering, and for Jim also, thank you for volunteering. Perhaps when it comes back, we can have a few more board members step up next year and participate. It's really an interesting process. Jim has also suggested to John that we find a way to perhaps create a press release about the benefits that the airport is providing to the traveling public by coordinating this type of event. A post-event press release would be helpful, so maybe that's something, John, you might think about as we go forward. All right, so we've had Budget Committee, we've had the Marketing Committee, any other committee reports?
No, ARW was taken care of by John.
Okay, hearing none. We will have another opportunity for citizens' comments.
Make a comment as a board member when you're finished with
Well-
citizens.
When we're done? Or- Okay, one sec. David, nothing else? Okay, thank you. All right, hearing none, before we adjourn, Leslie.
Just a comment about our board membership. I notice we're short 2 members on our board now, and I think one of the reasons we're having trouble getting people to step up to the plate is we don't have a good mix of board members, because in our rules, it says that we're supposed to go back and forth to north of the Broad and south of the Broad. And as we are recruiting for new board members, I really think it's important that we look to more north of the Broad people that might be available, so we could correct that inefficiency of not, giving them the opportunity.
Right.
Since we are a board that represents
Yeah.
2
Both sides,
airports,
yeah.
right now, there's only 2 north of board members, and the other
Right.
7 are all from
Is
south of the
is
board.
Mark north or is he south?
No, the 2 vacancies that currently exist are for north of the Broad
Yeah, for
members.
north,
One is a
yeah.
pilot tenant at the
Yeah.
airport, the other is a representative from the Chamber of Commerce. And John and I have had a little back and forth, and as well as the rest of the board, in some proposed basic changes in eligibility for the board, which slightly broadens the definition. So we're able to fill the spots with capable, qualified people.
And that'll help for south of the Broad as well, because that same,
The definitions are
Yes,
very
yes,
narrow
yeah.
at the moment. It's my feeling that they need to be broadened slightly without jeopardizing the intent of the legislation. So that conversation will go on a little further.
As you look at it, will you try to even it out a little more, so we don't have lopsided so many south of the board, and have a more
I think it's
even-
pretty even now, isn't it?
No,
I
it's
thought-
7 and
Is
2.
it?
Yeah,
There's
Well,
only 2
it's 7
south.
and 2 now, only because we're missing 2 north of the Broad members.
right.
So we really have 7
So
and
those 2
4.
vacancies will be filled by north.
Yes,
North,
the
yeah.
requirement
I
is,
didn't- yeah.
the requirement is that those 2 be filled by
Yeah.
north of the Broad.
Okay.
1 pilot
Then it is.
hangar and 1 Chamber of Commerce. And it's that area we're trying to broaden a little bit to
Right.
balance some of the stuff out and make it a little easier to find qualified people
Okay, that's good.
to sit on the board, so we don't have to take a lot of time looking for folks. And as Leslie said earlier, it's a good reminder, thank you, especially for the folks north of the Broad. Keep your eyes and ears
Yeah.
open, especially for the
I'm
pilot
promising
tenant.
people.
You're familiar with a lot of folks up there. Maybe they want to
Yeah.
do a public service and join the board and represent some of the folks over there. That process will continue to move forward slowly. I'll keep the board informed. John's in the loop obviously as well.
And the
hopefully-
changes on the definition will go through county council, is that correct? Yeah, okay.
Right, the county council, the process is, John will see it before we do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Then the process is, I guess goes the county clerk who will determine whether or not it's suitable to pass on. And if it goes beyond that, then the council has to read the.
Is that just one vote, or is that like a double, 2 readings or anything, just one? Okay.
So I hope within the next 30 days.
It depends, Chris. If it changes the language of the ordinance, which I suspect it will, then it'd be 3 readings.
3 readings, yeah.
Well, I'm
I
hoping that-
believe it's 3. I'll check to be sure. if it, you know, it's not a brand-new ordinance, that definitely is 3. I'll see if an
Yeah.
amendment is 3 or 1.
It's definitely a language change as we broaden it, as we
Right.
broaden slightly the definition, so.
Because if we got somebody that the language change would bring in, it may be that they've got to wait, and the question is, how long would they have to wait based on number of readings it has to go through to be
Right.
able to.
Well, the good news is there are more applications in the hopper, so to speak, with the clerk's office
Okay.
now than there really ever have been. So I think it's a matter of figuring out if they fit in the different seat qualifications. And if they do, then we could end up with a couple new board members here
Well,
pretty
and I
shortly.
think we're able to, as I had recommended, for me, if need be, if I need to move, because I come in under a couple of different qualifications, if I would need to move to another, I'm happy to do that to help.
Right.
So that's not a problem for
Right.
me.
I think, John, I think one of the problems, and you correct me if I'm wrong, when I looked at the applications in the hopper, I didn't see any applications in the hopper from north of the Broad. I know we have several in the hopper for south of the Broad. I had one conversation with a gentleman, probably 3 weeks ago, north of the Broad, encouraged him to put an application, and I think you and I briefly discussed a name. But I haven't seen an application in for that position yet. So
Okay.
we need encouragement to get
Yep.
some folks
It may be
on
me.
the north side.
People may not want to hang out with me, I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Well, since you won't step up to the chairman,
Yeah.
vice chairmanship, that's the problem.
Yeah, you're the big problem.
I just want to stay married.
We're gonna fix this. We're gonna try and fix that. All right, any other comments? Anybody online? Hearing none, I'll remind everybody, our next meeting is Thursday, May 18th, 1:30. Back up in Hilton Head. Please make every effort to appear in person if you possibly can. And with that, we'll consider this meeting adjourned.